Maya Bennett knew she was tipsy. Damian Vescari's chest felt like the most reasonable place to rest her finger. 5 minutes earlier, she had been standing near the staff bar at Belladonna House with half a glass of what she believed was champagne. She was celebrating the private club's anniversary as most of the major guests drifted toward their cars. Official service was over. Jackets had loosened. Elena Rossi had told the floor staff they could have 1 drink before cleanup. Maya almost never drank during work events, but she had been on her feet for 11 hours. She finished the glass too quickly, then realized someone had topped the champagne with elderflower liqueur for the toast. Now her cheeks were warm. Her heels felt slightly less trustworthy, and the part of her brain responsible for diplomacy had apparently clocked out before she did. That was unfortunate because Victor Holden was still in the room. For weeks, the polished liquor distributor had been asking questions. No guest needed answered. Which nights did Maya close? Did she usually leave alone? Was Tuesday still her late shift? Elena had dismissed the first question as flirting. Maya had dismissed the second as rich man entitlement. Then, 10 minutes ago, she had passed behind a velvet partition and heard Victor tell another man, "The girl knows more than she realizes." Now Damian Vescari was crossing the room in a black suit, silent and composed. And Maya remembered hearing management say staff safety at Belladonna House was non-negotiable. So she stepped directly into his path and poked him in the chest. Damian stopped. The room seemed to stop with him. His gaze lowered to the finger resting against his suit, then rose to Maya's face. She had seen him at the club twice before, and assumed he was some investor important enough that Elena became tense whenever he appeared. Up close, he was more intimidating than handsome, though unfortunately he was also handsome. Dark hair, controlled expression, the kind of stillness that made everybody around him appear louder than they were. Maya removed her finger half an inch, reconsidered, and put it back. "You," she said, somewhere behind her. A glass touched a table with suspicious care. Damian's voice was quiet. "Me." Maya nodded as if he had successfully passed an identification test. "You own this place." "Right." His eyes changed slightly. "Part of it. Close enough." She poked him once more. "Then tell your creepy rich friends to stop asking when I work." Damian did not look around. "Which friend?" Maya turned her head just enough to see Victor near the far end of the bar. "Especially the one who keeps asking which nights I close alone." Damian understood the danger before Maya understood the silence. Victor's expression had gone blank. Not embarrassed. Not irritated. Alert. 2 men near him stopped speaking. Nico Vescari, stationed beside the private stairwell, shifted his attention toward Damian immediately. Maya opened her mouth because lowered inhibitions had apparently convinced her that one disastrous sentence deserved another. "And if he asks me about the basement storage room one more before she could finish." Damian crossed the remaining distance, slid one arm behind her back, tucked the other beneath her knees, and lifted her cleanly off the floor. Maya made a sound somewhere between outrage and surprise. "What the hell?" Damian turned toward the private corridor. "We're leaving." "I have legs." "I noticed." "Put me down." He kept walking. Her heel slipped halfway from one foot, forcing her to catch it against his coat before it fell. Behind them, nobody objected. That registered more clearly than it should have. Belladonna House entertained politicians, actors, investors, athletes, and rich men who mistook membership fees for permission to behave badly. Yet, an entire room had watched Damian Vescari pick up a waitress and carry her away without one person asking what he was doing. "This is kidnapping adjacent," Maya informed him as he carried her through the service corridor. "No, you are taking me somewhere against my stated preference. 20 more feet. That is not a legal defense." He opened a dark wooden door and carried her into a private office. He set her into an armchair with the same efficiency he had used to remove her from the gala. The door remained open. Damian stepped away, crossed to a sideboard, and poured a glass of water. He placed it on the table beside her and did not hand it to her. "Drink." Maya stared at him. "Was that an order?" A pause. "Please drink some water." "Better." She picked up the glass and took a long sip while Damian remained near the desk. "Did you just carry me out like luggage?" "Yes." "You could have asked me to walk." "You were about to say more." Maya pointed the glass at him. "That sounds like a me problem." His gaze hardened by a fraction. "It became mine when Halden heard you." The name cleared some of the warmth from her head. Victor Damian nodded once. "Tell me exactly what he asked you." Maya leaned back. She suddenly wished the drink had been ordinary champagne and that she had taken twice as long to finish it. Why? Because he was not flirting. The answer sobered her another degree. "Start with the first time." Maya thought carefully. "Maybe 3 weeks ago. He asked if I always worked Thursdays. I said schedules changed." She rubbed one temple. "Then he asked Elena whether I usually closed private events. Another time he asked Marco at the bar if I drove or took the subway." Damian's jaw tightened. "And tonight, he asked if I was closing. Anything else?" Maya hesitated. "I heard him talking near the blue salon." Damian's attention sharpened. "What did he say?" She tried to reconstruct the fragments without pretending she remembered more than she did. Something about a shipment. There was a number, maybe 4 digits. I didn't catch it properly. He said it had to go late. After inventory. Then something about basement storage. Room 3. Maybe B3? Who was he speaking to? I didn't see. I was carrying glasses. What else? Damian asked. Maya looked at him over the rim of the water glass. "You're doing that thing." "What thing?" "Acting like every word matters. Right now." "It does." She set the glass down. "Then I should probably be sober before you keep interrogating me." Damian was silent for a beat, then nodded. Agreed. The immediate acceptance surprised her more than an argument would have. He turned toward the open doorway and called, "Elena." A moment later, Elena Rossi entered, looking worried enough to erase most of Maya's embarrassment. "Are you okay?" she asked. Maya pointed toward Damian. "He picked me up." Elena looked at Damian, then back at Maya. "I heard." Nobody stopped him. Elena exhaled carefully. "Maya, do you know who he is?" Maya glanced toward him. Club owner with boundary issues, Damian's expression remained unreadable. Elena lowered her voice. "Damian Vescari. The Vescari family controls Belladonna through several companies." Maya waited for the implication to settle. The name was not unfamiliar. New York had families whose reputations lived somewhere between court filings, restaurant openings, rumors, and conversations people lowered their voices to have. Her stomach cooled. "Oh." Damian said nothing. Maya looked at the office, remembered the room going silent beneath her finger, and finally said, "I poked a Mafia Boss in the chest." Damian's dry reply came from across the room. "Twice." That detail was unnecessary. Elena sat beside her, while Maya stared at Damian. "So, why does Victor care about me?" she asked. His expression hardened. "We do not know that he does. You carried me out before I could finish saying basement storage, because I did not want to find out in public." He leaned one hand against the desk. "Halden distributes liquor to this club and several businesses connected to my family. We have been reviewing irregularities in some of those contracts." Maya frowned. "You think I overheard something, possibly?" "I don't know anything about liquor contracts." "That may not matter if he believes you do." Fear moved through her more cleanly now. Not panic. Calculation. Victor had not been asking whether she was single. He had been asking when she was alone. Maya looked toward Elena. You thought he was flirting. Elena's face tightened. I did. I told you. It felt wrong. You did. Elena did not defend herself. I should have taken it more seriously. Damian said nothing, but Maya noticed the way his attention shifted between them, cataloging the failure without interrupting the apology. Nico appeared in the doorway and spoke quietly to Damian before handing him a phone. Damian read the screen, then looked toward Maya. A car is ready. For whom? You. Her answer came immediately. No. His gaze settled on her. You should not go home alone tonight. That is different from you deciding how I go home. The room became very still. Maya could almost see the instinct in him to end the discussion by making the safer choice for her. She had seen men do that before with far less power. Elena can take me, she said, or I can stay with her. I am not getting into a car with strangers because you decided that is the solution. Nico looked toward Damian. Waiting. Damian's jaw tightened once. Elena. Elena nodded. She can stay with me, Maya said. That works. Damian held her gaze for another second. Fine. The word sounded reluctant, but it was still an answer rather than an order. Maya stood, tested her balance, and waved Elena's hand away when she reached to help. I can walk. Damian's eyes dropped briefly to her heels. Debatable. Maya pointed at him again. Do not make me poke you a third time. Nico turned his face aside, though not quickly enough to hide the beginning of a smile. Damian showed no such weakness. Tomorrow, he said, when you are sober, I would like you to meet with me, Elena, and security about what Halden asked. Maya narrowed her eyes, recognizing the correction from command to request. Better. She grabbed her small purse from Elena and headed toward the corridor on her own. Before disappearing around the corner, she looked back once. Damian had not moved to follow. Nico waited until Maya and Elena were gone. He entered and closed the office door. The faint noise of the gala returned beyond the walls. It sounded subdued as staff began breaking down the room. Halden left early, Nico said. Didn't finish his drink. His driver pulled out less than 2 minutes after you carried her out. I put someone behind him at a distance. Damian looked toward the corridor where Maya had disappeared. Does he know? Not unless they get careless. Nico slipped the phone back into his jacket. You think she heard enough to matter? Damian remembered Victor's face when Maya mentioned closing alone. Not anger. Assessment. I think Halden believes she might have. Nico nodded once. Then we move her. Different apartment. Different schedule. Keep her off the floor until we know what he's doing. No. Nico studied him. Damian crossed to the desk and picked up the untouched file he had been reviewing. Maya had turned a quiet audit into an immediate problem. We restrict access to staff schedules. Halden does not enter this building without security knowing it. We review every question he asked and every delivery tied to the basement. Maya speaks to us tomorrow if she agrees. Nico's expression remained skeptical, and tonight she goes with Elena because that is what she chose. Nico leaned against the door. You carried her across a ballroom without asking what she chose. Damian's gaze lifted. She was tipsy. Halden was listening. And she was about to identify a storage location in front of everyone in that room. There was no time to explain without confirming she mattered. So you made the decision for her. Yes. Damian did not defend it further. Beyond the office, a cart rolled down the service corridor. Maya's distant voice argued with Elena about whether she was allowed to take her shoes off before they reached the elevator. Damian listened until the sound faded. Nico followed his attention, and now he asked. Damian looked at the empty doorway. Now there is time. Maya woke the next morning with a headache and one missing earring. She also had the deeply unpleasant memory of pressing her finger into Damian Vescari's chest in front of half the room at Belladonna House. By 9, she had recovered enough dignity to find the earring under Elena's couch. She had enough irritation to decide she was not apologizing for the part that mattered. She arrived at the club just before noon, in dark slacks and a cream sweater instead of her uniform. Elena was waiting in the management office with coffee. "Before you say anything," Maya said. "I know I was tipsy." Elena handed her the cup. "You were. I know I poked him. Twice." Maya Sihil. Elena almost smiled, then sobered. "You were also right about Halden. That mattered more." 10 minutes later, they entered a conference room where Damian sat at one end of the table with Nico Vescari, the club's HR director, and a security supervisor Maya recognized from late shifts. No private office. No closed-door interrogation. Damian looked at her once. "How do you feel?" "Humiliated." "Physically?" "Fine." A pause. "Good." Maya sat across from him. "I am not apologizing for reporting Halden. I did not ask you to." The investigation began with the simplest question: how often had Victor Halden tried to learn Maya's schedule? Elena pulled floor reports while HR reviewed staff messages and manager notes. Security checked guest logs and camera footage. By early afternoon, they had 4 separate incidents. One bartender remembered Victor asking whether Maya still closed on Tuesdays. A host had been asked whether she usually worked private events on Thursdays. Elena admitted Victor had once asked if Maya drove home after late service, a question she had dismissed because he framed it as concern about employee safety. The 4th request came through a junior supervisor who had casually confirmed that Maya was usually around until close on anniversary weeks. Damian listened without interrupting until the supervisor finished, then asked, "Why can guests obtain staff scheduling information at all?" HR began explaining hospitality norms. Damian stopped him with one look. That was not a defense. Damian turned to the security supervisor. "Effective now. No employee schedule is confirmed to guests, vendors, members, or outside callers without the employee's consent or a documented operational reason." Then he looked at Maya. "That policy applies to everyone." She nodded slowly. "Good." The camera review was less dramatic, but more useful. Victor had spoken to Maya on the floor several times. Each time was brief, never enough to trigger security. On 2 nights, he remained in the club after the guests at his table left. On another, he stood near the staff corridor, long enough to watch employees badge through. A bartender then redirected him toward the lounge. Maya recognized one date immediately. That was the night he asked if I took the subway. Nico looked at the timestamp. "You closed at 1:20. Maya frowned. "How do you know that?" Nico pointed toward the internal shift log on the screen. "Because we're reviewing it now." She accepted the answer. Damian noticed the question. "Nobody outside this room gets that information," he said. Maya looked at him. "Including you." Nico's eyebrows lifted. Damian's face did not change. "If I need your schedule for this investigation, I ask security for the relevant dates. I do not need the rest." She held his gaze for a second. "That is a very specific distinction. You seem to appreciate those. I appreciate people learning them." The difficulty came when Damian said, "You should stay off the floor until this is resolved." Maya stared at him. "No." The HR director looked down at his notes. Elena leaned over and stared into her coffee. Damian's expression remained controlled. "Halden knows where you work. He has known where I work for months. Now he knows we know he was asking about you, which makes removing me from my shifts look exactly like what Damian did not answer. Maya did it for him. Punishment. I report something, and suddenly I lose hours. You would be paid." That is not the point, Damian said. It reduces access. Maya folded her arms. For him or for me? Silence. If you tell the staff that speaking up means getting hidden in a back office, nobody is going to tell you the next time something feels wrong. Elena nodded before she could stop herself. Damian looked at her. You agree? Yes. Elena set down her coffee. She is right. Damian disliked being outvoted in his own club. Maya could tell, because his voice became quieter. Then proposed something better. She had expected resistance, not an invitation. Maya thought for a moment. I choose my shifts. You lock down schedule access. If Halden comes in, security tells me before I go onto the floor. If I want an escort to my car or a ride home, I ask for one, Nico said. That leaves gaps. Life has gaps. Maya looked at Damian. No security at my apartment. No one following me home. No changing my commute. No putting me in a hotel without asking. His eyes narrowed slightly at how specifically she'd anticipated his response. And if there is an immediate threat, then stop the immediate threat. After that, you ask. The room went quiet. Damian looked at her long enough that Maya wondered whether she had pushed too hard. Finally, he said, Agreed. Nico turned toward him. All of it. All of it. Damian's gaze stayed on Maya. But if Halden approaches you, you report it immediately. That is reasonable. And you do not confront him alone. Also reasonable. Good. Maya lifted her coffee. Look at us. Negotiating like adults. The liquor records took longer. Belladonna received dozens of deliveries every week, and Victor's company handled several premium brands. Maya could not remember the shipment number from the gala, so nobody asked her to invent one. Instead, security pulled late-night deliveries tied to the basement storage area. Most were legitimate. A few had timing irregularities. 3 shipments had been logged after normal inventory close, even though the receiving staff had already signed out. On paper, each had been accepted by a manager whose badge records showed him elsewhere in the building at the time. Ghost signatures, Nico said. Damian corrected him. Possibly copied credentials. Maya leaned over the printed log. What is this room code? B3, Elena said. Maya felt something tighten in her stomach. That is what I heard. Damian did not treat the remark as proof. You said maybe B3. I know. I am saying this is familiar. Not that I'm suddenly certain. He gave a small nod. Good. Maya looked at him. Was that praise? Do not become dependent on it. By late afternoon, they had another pattern. The questionable shipments were not random. They clustered on nights when the main bar closed late. Staff movement through the basement was higher then, which made an extra delivery easier to hide. Maya's schedule overlapped with several of those nights. She often worked anniversary events, member dinners, and private tastings that ended after midnight. So maybe he did not start watching me because I heard something, she said. Nico looked up. Explain. Maybe he noticed me because I was already around on the nights he cared about. Then once he thought I had heard something, he started asking whether I would be around again. Damian's eyes sharpened. That is plausible. Elena pulled another report. There were 2 other servers on some of these closes. Did Halden ask about them? Maya asked. Nobody knew yet. Damian told security to check. That change mattered. They were investigating a pattern, not forcing one. At 5, Maya finally went downstairs to the service floor. Her shift did not begin for another hour, but she wanted to see what had changed. The host's stand now had a printed instruction under the phone. Employee schedules were private and could not be confirmed externally. Managers had received the same policy digitally. Security had added a discreet alert note to Victor Halden's membership profile, requiring notification if he entered the property. Nothing on Maya's profile marked her as protected, restricted, or removed from normal duties. She read the new instruction twice. Damian appeared beside the host stand without making enough noise to announce himself. Maya glanced at him. "You move like a horror movie. You poke people like one." She looked at him. "You made a joke." "No, that was absolutely a joke." His expression remained flat. "You are imagining improvement." Maya smiled despite herself, then pointed to the policy. "This is good. It should have existed before." Yes, he accepted that, without defending the club. She worked the evening shift. Nothing happened. A couple argued over a reservation. A businessman sent back a whiskey because he had ordered the wrong one and refused to admit it. Maya carried trays and did the job she had fought not to lose. 11, near 10. She noticed Nico standing by the entrance and wondered whether he was there because of her. Then she saw him speaking to security about an unrelated private floor guest and forced herself not to see every shadow as a threat. Damian did not hover. He did not appear at her tables. He did not ask Elena for updates on where Maya was every 15 minutes. The absence of control felt strangely more reassuring than control itself. Near closing, Elena came to the service station with a folder. Security finished the overlap. Maya dried her hands and opened it. 6 late-night shipments had been flagged for review over the previous 2 months. 4 had been routed through basement room B3. 3 of those 4 had arrived on nights Maya closed. The 4th came on a night she had switched shifts with another server at the last minute. Maya read the dates twice. Did Halden know about the switch? Elena shook her head. We don't know. Damian approached from the corridor with Nico behind him. Maya handed him the folder. This does not prove he was tracking me. No, Damian said. But it gives us a reason to find out whether the shipments were scheduled around staff coverage. Nico added. And whether someone inside the club was helping him. Maya looked toward the basement door at the far end of the service corridor. She had walked past it hundreds of times without caring what sat behind it. So what happens now? Damian did not answer with an order. We ordered the delivery records, access, badges, and vendor invoices. Security checks whether Halden asked about anyone else. You work the shifts you choose. Maya looked at him. And if you decide I am in more danger than I think. The old instinct flashed across his face before he controlled it. I tell you why. Then he was silent for a beat. Then, unless someone is standing in front of you with an immediate threat, you decide what help you accept. Maya nodded. That was not trust yet. It was a framework trust might one day fit into. Damian looked down at the shipment report one more time. 3 flagged deliveries. 3 nights Maya had closed. The overlap could still be coincidence. The basement location she half remembered from the gala made coincidence less comfortable than it had been that morning. Maya followed his gaze and understood the same thing. Victor Halden had not been simply asking when a waitress worked. He had been asking when she would be near the part of Belladonna House. His shipments needed to pass through unnoticed. The phrase came back to Maya because of an invoice. Not because memory suddenly decided to become generous. 3 days after security identified the basement delivery pattern, Elena called her into the management office and handed her a stack of vendor copies Belladonna's accounting team had flagged. Maya wasn't there to probe the books. Damian had been explicit about that. She was there only because one invoice carried a storage code that might help identify what she had overheard during the anniversary gala. Most of the paperwork meant nothing to her. Bottle counts, case quantities, distributor codes, receiving initials. Then she saw a handwritten note beside one shipment. Ghost cases reconcile after close. Maya stared at the words until the room around her seemed to dim. That? She said. Elena looked over. What Maya touched the edge of the paper without moving it. I heard Victor say, ghost cases. Nico. standing near the filing cabinet, became completely still. Maya closed her eyes and let the memory come only as far as it wanted. Velvet, partition. Victor's voice. Another man answering too quietly to understand. He said something like, "The ghost cases go through after close." I think that was it. I am not certain about the rest. Nico reached for the invoice. Maya held it down. Do not turn "I think" into "she remembers." Damian's voice came from the doorway. He won't. Maya looked up. Damian entered, took the seat across from her, and added, "Neither will I." The phrase gave the accountants a direction rather than an answer. Over the next week, Belladonna's legitimate audit firm compared physical inventory with invoices from Victor Halden's distribution companies. The pattern was small enough to hide inside an expensive club and regular enough to matter. Cases of premium liquor appeared on invoices but never appeared in physical stock. Other deliveries existed, but were priced above contract rates, with the excess routed through vendors whose ownership records led to shell companies. Money left. Legitimate hospitality accounts, disguised as ordinary purchasing costs. Some of it returned through businesses connected to Victor. Damian did not invite Maya into the meetings where the financial structure was mapped. He gave her the part that concerned her. The deliveries you overheard were probably being used to justify payments for inventory that did not exist, he explained one afternoon in Belladonna's small dining room. With Elena present and sunlight pouring through windows that made the conversation feel almost ordinary, Maya stirred coffee she had forgotten to drink. So he thought I saw empty deliveries, or heard enough to ask why invoices existed when cases did not. I didn't. He could not know that. Maya looked at Damian, and the questions about my schedule, likely an attempt to determine when you were near the basement and whether you would be there again. Maya worked through the implications slowly. Victor had not become interested in her because she was special, in an odd way, that made the danger easier to understand. She had been an unpredictable variable in somebody else's financial scheme, a waitress who walked the wrong corridor at the wrong hour. That is almost insulting, she said. Damian's eyebrows shifted. What is being threatened by accounting? Elena covered a smile with her coffee. Damian did not. Financial crimes offend you personally. If someone is going to make me nervous walking home, I would prefer a more glamorous reason. Damian's mouth moved by a fraction. Maya caught it. There. You almost smiled. No, you did. Your standards are low. The humor lasted only a few seconds. It changed the room. Damian had become easier to read since the gala. Not because he spoke more, but because Maya had learned how much lived in the spaces between his words. She also noticed that he had kept the agreement. No one had changed her shifts. No car followed her after work. When she asked for an escort to the subway one night after a late close, security provided one and stopped at the entrance when she said she was fine from there. Victor approached her on a Sunday afternoon at a coffee shop 6 blocks from Belladonna. Maya had chosen the place because it was crowded, bright, and usually filled with students arguing over laptops. She was halfway through a sandwich when a man in a charcoal coat stopped beside her table. Maya. She looked up and felt her stomach tighten. Victor Halden smiled as if they had accidentally met at a charity luncheon. I hoped we could clear something up. Maya did not stand. You should talk to Belladonna management. I'm not here about the club. Then we have nothing to discuss. Victor pulled out the chair opposite her but did not sit. I think you misunderstood a few harmless questions. Maya saw a reflection in the front window, a man at the counter she recognized from Belladonna security. She had asked for no escort today. For one irritated second, she wondered whether Damian had broken the agreement. Then the security man looked toward the street rather than at her. And Maya remembered Elena saying Belladonna's staff had been warned Victor might approach employees. He could have been following Victor, not her. Maya turned her attention back to the table. Victor lowered his voice. You made a serious accusation in a room full of people. I said, you kept asking when I worked. You did. Because you were friendly. No, I wasn't. The smile thinned. You may think this is amusing. I really don't. Maya took out her phone and placed it face up on the table. Not recording secretly. Simply making clear she could call someone. If you have something official to say, send it through management or an attorney. Victor finally sat. There are people who could misunderstand what you think you heard. Maya felt fear move through her, but she kept her voice even. Are you one of them? I am saying reputations are fragile. Yours too. That was the first direct pressure. Maya stood. Conversation over. Victor looked almost disappointed. You should be careful who you let turn you into a witness. Maya picked up her bag. You should be careful asking women when they go home alone. Then she walked toward the counter. The Belladonna security man did not touch Victor or block him. He simply stepped into Maya's line of sight and asked, Do you want assistance? Maya nodded. Yes. I want, Elena called, and I want someone to write down exactly what just happened. Damian arrived at Belladonna 20 minutes later. Maya was already in the management office giving Elena and security a factual account. She had written down Victor's phrases while they were fresh. She even noted the line about reputations. Damian entered and read the page. He grew quieter than usual. Maya recognized that as anger. Did he touch you? He asked. No. Block your exit. No. Follow you. Not that I saw. Damian turned toward Nico. Where is he now? His car left southbound. We have the plate and the coffee shop footage, Maya said. And that is enough for today. Damian looked at her. He threatened you. He implied consequences. That is a threat. Fine. Then document the threat. She could see the old machinery kick in behind his eyes, remove the problem. Remove her from its reach. Close every uncontrolled gap. Maya touched the report. He handled it. Security backed me when I asked. The system worked. Damian's gaze stayed hard. This time, that is how systems work. One time at a time. For the next 2 days, nothing happened. Maya worked, went home, and slept badly. She told herself that was different from being unsafe. On the third night, she left a grocery store near her apartment and noticed a black sedan parked across the street. She recognized the driver before she recognized the car. He had stood near Belladonna's private stairwell during a members' dinner the previous month. Vescari Security. Maya stopped beneath the awning and watched him pretend not to watch her. Anger came faster than fear. She crossed the street. He lowered his window when he saw her coming. Ms. Bennett. How long have you been here? His hesitation answered badly. I'm assigned to the area. That is not what I asked. He looked toward his phone. Maya held out her hand. Call whoever gave the order. Miss Bennett. Now. Damian answered on the second ring. Maya did not bother with hello. You put security outside my apartment. Silence. Yes, at least, he did not lie. Remove him. Victor approached you 2 days ago. Remove him. Maya, you carried me out once because there was no time to ask. What's your excuse now? The line went quiet enough that she could hear traffic behind her. Damian finally said, There isn't one you will accept. That is because there isn't one. I believed the risk had changed. Then you tell me the risk changed. Her voice sharpened. You do not secretly change my life because you are afraid something might happen. Damian said nothing. Maya looked at the driver, who had developed an intense interest in the steering wheel. I am not your employee to hide, your witness to move, or your asset to guard. She took a breath. Remove him. Done, Damian said. The driver's phone buzzed almost immediately. He listened, nodded, then looked at Maya. "I'm leaving. Thank you." She waited on the sidewalk until the sedan disappeared at the end of the block. Only then did Damian speak again through her phone. "Are you still there?" Maya almost laughed. "You mean where you already knew I was?" A pause. "Yes. Do not come here." "I wasn't going to." "Good." The anger in her chest loosened slightly because he had obeyed without bargaining. "We can talk tomorrow." Damian's voice was low. "All right." Maya ended the call before either of them could turn restraint into something sentimental. They met the next afternoon in Belladonna's closed upstairs lounge. The doors were open and daylight lay across the empty tables. Maya had asked Elena to remain nearby but not inside. Damian stood near the windows when she entered. "No detail outside your apartment," he said before she could begin. "No one following your commute. No one assigned to you privately." Maya set her bag down. "You already promised that." "I broke the promise." The directness stopped her. Damian continued. "Victor approached you. I decided the situation justified coverage. I knew you would probably refuse, so I did not ask." Maya stared at him. "Do you hear how bad that sounds when you say it out loud?" "Yes." "Then why did you do it?" His gaze shifted toward the street below. "Because I can prevent things. Not everything. Enough things. And that makes you think you should." Damian looked back at her. "Sometimes." Maya walked closer, stopping with a table between them. "That is the part I do not trust." His expression hardened, but she kept going. "Not the mafia name. Not the men downstairs. That." She pointed lightly toward him. "You decide danger makes the rules different. Maybe sometimes it does. If somebody is pointing a gun, drag me behind a wall. If a building is on fire, pick me up and run. But you do not get to turn every possibility into an emergency, because emergencies let you stop asking." Damian absorbed the words without interruption. "You are right," he said eventually. Maya blinked. That was disturbingly easy. It was not. "Good." His mouth almost moved. The tension between them changed before either stepped closer. She could feel it in the silence, in the way his attention dropped briefly to her mouth and returned. Maya hated how much she noticed. "This would be a terrible idea," she said. "Yes." Damian did not move. "At least we agree." Maya closed part of the distance anyway, then stopped. His hand lifted slightly before falling back to his side. She could have kissed him. For one reckless second. She wanted to. Then she remembered the payroll file with her name under Belladonna House and the security man across from her apartment. She remembered how easily attraction could make blurred boundaries feel romantic. Maya stepped back. Damian stepped back too. No argument. No wounded pride. "Not while I work for you," she said. "Agreed." The answer was immediate. She searched his face. "You really can learn. Do not become optimistic." Maya smiled faintly and reached for her bag. Elena was waiting outside with an envelope in her hand. "This came for you by courier." Maya frowned at the return address. "A law firm in Manhattan." Damian stopped several feet behind her while she opened it. The letter accused Maya Bennett of making false and damaging statements concerning Victor Halden's conduct and business reputation. It demanded that she cease repeating defamatory allegations and preserve all communications related to the Belladonna anniversary event. Maya read the page twice. He sent a lawyer. Damian's face became cold. "Yes." Maya looked at him before he could say anything else. "My choice first." He held her gaze. "Your choice first." Maya folded the letter carefully. She handed it to Elena to copy for the incident file. For the first time since Victor began asking when she worked, Maya understood exactly what frightened him. Not that she knew everything, that she had stopped being afraid to say what she did know. Victor Halden's legal threat did not silence Maya. It made her more precise. The following morning she met with Belladonna's outside counsel Elena and the security supervisor. She insisted on a conference room with no Damian at the table. That had been Maya's request. She did not need the head of the Vescari family sitting beside her. She was the one deciding what belonged in the formal statement. The attorney asked her to describe only what she had personally experienced, Victor asking about her schedule, whether she closed alone, how she traveled home, what she overheard near the blue salon, and the conversation in the coffee shop. Maya resisted every invitation to speculate. She did not say Victor ordered fraudulent shipments because she had not seen him do it. She did not say he threatened her with violence because he had not. She wrote that he told her reputations were fragile and that people could misunderstand what she thought she heard. When the attorney asked whether she believed the statement was intimidating, Maya answered, "Yes, but write what he said, not what I think he wanted me to imagine." By noon, her statement was signed, dated, and copied into Belladonna's incident file. The financial evidence was less restrained. Numbers had no reason to protect Victor's reputation. The audit firm identified inflated purchase orders, duplicate receiving records, shell vendors, and payments attached to liquor cases that never entered inventory. Access logs placed Victor's representatives near basement room B3 on several nights. Those shipments were recorded after normal receiving hours. Belladonna was not the only property involved. 2 other Vescari-connected clubs had smaller versions of the same pattern. Nico brought the summary to Damian late that afternoon and laid it across his desk. "We have enough to remove him from every contract," he said, "and enough to make other people nervous." Damian looked over the pages. Other people, Nico's expression remained neutral. The ones who helped him. Names 3 we can prove. More we suspect. Nico paused. There are faster ways to make Halden cooperate. Damian looked up. The silence between cousins carried years Maya would never know about. "No," Damian said. Nico did not pretend to misunderstand. "He threatened a woman who works for us. Then we document the threat. He used our accounts. Then we close the accounts. He stole from the family." Damian's gaze became colder. "And that does not make Maya an excuse for whatever you want to do next." The decision moved quickly after that. Belladonna terminated every active contract with Halden Distribution for breach and accounting irregularities. The other Vescari hospitality businesses followed, where the records supported it. Outside counsel preserved the audit materials. They referred the suspicious financial activity to legitimate investigators who could pursue fraud, false invoicing, and related offenses without needing a Vescari threat behind closed doors. Victor's attorney responded with 2 angry letters and 1 demand for a private meeting. Damian declined all 3. Maya learned about the contract termination from Elena, not because Damian summoned her upstairs. She was carrying a tray of empty glasses toward the service station when Elena caught her arm. "It's done." Maya stopped. "What is Halden's companies are out. All Belladonna purchasing with them is frozen." Maya looked toward the private staircase instinctively. Damian accounting and counsel had enough. Elena lowered her voice. He could have handled it differently. Maya understood what she meant, but he didn't. No. Victor came to Belladonna 2 nights later anyway. His membership access had already been restricted, so he never made it beyond the front vestibule. Maya was finishing an early shift when the host called Elena and security. She should have stayed in the service corridor. Instead, she stepped close enough to see through the glass partition and found Victor standing in an expensive coat with 2 security officers between him and the inner doors. He looked less polished than usual, but not desperate. Men like Victor rarely let desperation show while charm still seemed to work. When he saw Maya, he lifted one hand. "There she is." Maya stopped. Elena moved beside her. "You don't have to talk to him. I know." Victor raised his voice, just enough to carry. "Maya, I need 60 seconds. She looked at Elena. If I say no, he leaves. Yes? Maya turned toward Victor. No. Victor's smile disappeared. You should understand what you've done. Maya stayed where she was. I told the truth about what you asked me. You repeated fragments of private business conversations you did not understand. Then your problem is with your own conversations. One of the security officers told Victor he needed to leave. Victor ignored him. You can still correct your statement. Maya felt fear rise, but she did not confuse fear with obligation. No, you are letting these people use you. The old version of Maya might have answered too much. This time, she said, if you have legal business with me, contact my attorney. Victor's face hardened. You think Vescari will protect you forever? A new voice entered from behind Maya. That is enough. Damian had come down the private staircase without anyone announcing him. Victor's attention shifted immediately. The vestibule changed with it. Damian did not move toward Victor. He stopped beside Elena, several feet behind Maya, leaving security between the two men. You terminated contracts. You had no right to terminate, Victor said. Damian's expression remained flat. Our counsel disagrees. You are destroying my business over a waitress. Maya felt the word land and braced for Damian to make it personal. He did not. Your invoices did that, he said. Victor looked toward Maya again. Retract the statement. Damian's voice became quieter. She already answered you. Victor took one step forward. Security blocked him immediately. Damian did not touch him. Escortmeester. Halden out, he said. If he returns without written authorization, document it and call the police. Victor laughed once. Police. He looked directly at Damian. That what you are now, Damian's expression did not change. Tonight, the answer unsettled Victor more than a threat might have. Security walked him outside. No punches, no dragged body, no whispered order to make him disappear. Maya watched his car pull away and realized the most frightening man in the room had chosen the least dramatic option available. She filed a formal harassment and intimidation report the next morning, not because Damian told her to. He never asked whether she would. Elena accompanied her because Maya wanted company. Belladonna supplied copies of the guest logs and security footage through counsel. Maya described the coffee shop conversation and the club entrance confrontation. The officer, taking the report, did not promise an arrest or immediate protection. He explained documentation, potential follow-up, and what to do if Victor contacted her directly again. The process was ordinary and imperfect. Maya found that reassuring. She had spent weeks surrounded by a world where men solved problems through access other people did not possess. Sitting beneath fluorescent lights while someone stapled her statement into a file reminded her that ordinary systems still mattered. The harder conversation happened 3 days later. Maya had received an offer from the Wren House, a small, independent boutique hotel in Lower Manhattan. She had interviewed there months earlier and nearly accepted a guest services role before Belladonna increased her hours. The new position was guest services supervisor, with better pay, management training, and no connection to Vescari businesses. She carried the offer letter upstairs herself. Damian was alone in his office when she entered. I'm leaving, Belladonna, she said. His face became still. Because of Halden partly. Then, we can change your position. No. The word came gently this time. Maya placed the letter on his desk. This is exactly why I need to go. Every time something becomes complicated here, you can rearrange the building around me. Damian looked at the letter, but did not touch it. You think I would punish you for staying? No. I think I cannot figure out what I want from you while my paycheck still comes from something you control. The silence between them felt different from the near kiss upstairs weeks earlier. Attraction was no longer hypothetical. Neither of them needed to name it to know it had become part of every careful conversation. Damian picked up the offer letter and read the hotel name. Independent Maya watched him closely. Completely. Good. She almost laughed. That is your response. Do you want the job? Yes. Then take it. Maya searched his face for the counteroffer. None came. You're not going to double my salary, no. Offer me a management role here, no. Buy the hotel. Damian's mouth shifted almost imperceptibly. No. You thought about that too quickly. I own businesses. Acquisitions occur to me. Acquisitions. Damian. I am not buying your hotel. Maya smiled, despite herself. Good. She moved toward the door, then stopped. What do you want? Damian's gaze lifted. In general, do not make this difficult. You have made very little easy since the night you touched me in front of half the club. Maya folded her arms. Answer the question. For once. Damian did not hide behind silence long enough to make her wonder. You. The word landed softly and carried more weight than a speech would have. Maya's breath caught. Damian continued. But not because you work for me. Not because Halden made you a problem I could solve. And not while I have professional authority over you. She looked at him. That sounds dangerously reasonable. It has been an unpleasant education. I can imagine. His expression stayed serious. Take the job. Maya. Her final week at Belladonna passed without spectacle. Victor did not return. His attorney communicated only through counsel. The audit expanded beyond Belladonna. And Elena told Maya that investigators had requested records from several vendors connected to the shell companies. Her part had been to report what she experienced. Not to turn herself into a detective because a dangerous man had once misjudged how much she knew. The staff threw her a small goodbye after closing on Friday. Someone produced champagne. Maya stared at the glass until the entire bar laughed. Water, she said. I have learned things. Elena hugged her and promised to call when the new staff privacy training was finalized. Nico appeared long enough to tell Maya, try not to publicly assault the next owner you work for. Maya pointed one finger at his chest without touching him. Tell your cousin he deserved it. Nico's mouth twitched. He knows. Damian did not appear. Maya noticed at 11. She noticed again when she signed the final payroll form, returned her access card, and walked past the private stairwell. By midnight, she understood the absence was deliberate. He had told her to take the new job, and now he was leaving the departure entirely to her. No final conversation designed to change her mind. No car waiting outside. No security detail she had not requested. Elena offered to walk her to the subway because they were leaving together, and Maya accepted. At the front doors, she looked back once at the dark lobby of Belladonna House. For weeks, Damian's presence had felt like the most powerful force in every room he entered. That night, his absence said more. He could have made leaving difficult. Instead, he let her go. 4 months after Maya Bennett left Belladonna House, Victor Halden's name appeared in legal updates. It no longer appeared across a room. Investigators had expanded the financial case around his distribution companies after reviewing false invoices and shell vendors. They had also reviewed receiving records from several hospitality businesses. Belladonna's lawyers kept Maya informed only when something concerned her statement. Victor had not contacted her directly again. His attorney had sent one more letter, this time through proper channels, and then stopped. Maya did not celebrate. She also no longer checked over her shoulder every time a black sedan slowed near the curb. At the Wren house, she had learned a different kind of authority. As guest services supervisor, she handled difficult clients, late arrivals, and staff coverage. She also handled the 1,000 small problems that could make a boutique hotel feel effortless when they were solved well. She still reported anything that felt wrong. She simply no longer believed reporting meant surrendering control. when a guest became aggressive with a receptionist one Friday night. Maya called security before stepping in. Months earlier, she might have tried to handle him alone. Growth, she had discovered, was sometimes less dramatic than becoming brave. Sometimes it was admitting other people were allowed to help when you chose them. Damian kept his distance exactly as promised. No flowers appeared at the hotel. No Vescari cars waited outside. No one at Wren House suddenly knew his name because he had called management. The first time he contacted Maya after her final shift, he sent one message. Coffee, she chose the place. The second time, she suggested dinner. They met in restaurants he did not own and walked through neighborhoods where nobody lowered their voice when he entered. They learned each other without the structure of employer and employee between them. Damian remained Damian. He did not become talkative. He still answered some questions with a look that suggested language was an inefficient technology. When Maya asked whether he had stopped doing everything illegal because she preferred cleaner stories, he said, no. She appreciated the answer more than a lie. He told her there were parts of his family business he intended to change and parts he was not prepared to discuss. Maya told him secrecy was not the same as permission to make decisions for her. He said, I know. The first few times. She suspected he was saying it because he had learned the correct response. Eventually she realized he meant it. The Wren House charity tasting event was the first time their two worlds crossed again in public. The hotel had partnered with a non-profit supporting restaurant workers injured on the job. Several hospitality companies had donated to the event. One of those donors was the Vescari Foundation. Damian did not own the hotel, sponsor Maya's position, or have any control over the event staff. His name sat on the guest list beside a donation so large it left the fundraising director looking worried. Maya saw it during the morning briefing and felt an unexpected smile threaten. Her assistant noticed. You know him, unfortunately. Should I be worried? Maya looked at the seating chart. Only if you poke him. The assistant stared. Maya decided not to explain. By 7, the lobby was full of chefs, donors, hotel executives, and people pretending not to calculate how wealthy everyone else was. Damian arrived on time with Nico. He wore black, because apparently color remained illegal in the Vescari family. Nico greeted Maya first, still assaulting management, only when necessary. Damian looked at her. That standard seems flexible. You survived. He acted like a guest. That surprised Maya more than she expected. Damian did not enter the service corridor. He did not ask whether she had eaten. He did not summon her between donor speeches. A catering delay forced Maya to reroute one tasting station. She saw him watching from across the room, but he did not move toward her. He let her work. Nico disappeared midway through the evening after receiving a call, leaving Damian alone near a group of restaurateurs who seemed unsure whether speaking to him counted as opportunity or risk. Maya almost felt sorry for them. Almost. Near the end of the event, Damian found her beside the registration desk after the last auction item closed. Successful, he asked. Nobody poisoned anyone. Nobody sued us. And the silent auction exceeded target. His expression remained serious. Your standards are unusual. Hospitality lowers them. She studied him. How does it feel being somewhere you do not own? Inconvenient. Good for character. I have enough character. Debatable. After midnight, the lobby finally emptied. Maya signed the last vendor release, checked that the donation envelopes were locked in the hotel's safe, and sent 2 exhausted assistants home. Damian remained near the entrance, speaking quietly with the non-profit director. He had not asked her to leave with him. He had not offered a car. When Maya approached, the director thanked him and headed toward the elevators. Damian turned. You are still working. Observant. I was told the event ended 40 minutes ago. Maya narrowed her eyes. Who told you? The printed program. She looked down at the folded program in his hand and laughed. Very good. I am trying. There was enough dryness in the answer to make her smile. They walked toward the lobby doors together. Outside, the summer rain had left the pavement dark and glossy. The hotel's covered curb was quiet except for a valet moving between cars. Maya looked at Damian. I still can't believe I poked you in the chest. I can. Twice. Yes, you deserved it. Damian considered that. Probably. Maya laughed and stepped beneath the awning. Her rideshare was still several minutes away. Damian's car had not arrived either. For a moment they stood side by side, listening to water drip from the edge of the canopy. The memory of Belladonna returned without hurting. Champagne warmth. Victor watching. Her finger against Damian's chest. And then the impossible sensation of the floor disappearing when he lifted her. Do you regret carrying me out? She asked. Damian looked at her. No. Maya raised an eyebrow. Dangerous answer. I regret that there was no time to explain before I did it. I do not regret removing you from that room. He paused. You were about to tell Halden exactly what you had heard in front of people whose loyalties I did not know. Maya nodded slowly. Fair. I also regret how easily I used that emergency to justify other decisions later. The black sedan outside her apartment flashed through her mind. That answer is better. Damian's gaze stayed on hers. I have had practice. The valet returned to his station, leaving them alone at the curb again. Damian glanced toward the street, then back at Maya. May I walk you out? She looked at him. We are already outside. To your car when it arrives. His expression remained perfectly serious. Maya Smilet. Yes. The answer felt different from every yes she had given him before, because there was nothing pressing behind it. No threat. No employer. No security problem. Just a man asking whether she wanted his company for the length of a sidewalk. Her rideshare notification changed to 2 minutes away. They moved toward the pickup area at an ordinary pace. Damian did not position himself between her and every passing vehicle. He did not scan the street as if New York had personally offended him. He simply walked beside her. At the curb, Maya stopped. Damian stopped too. Her car was visible at the next light. She turned toward him and studied the front of his black suit. Then, very deliberately, she lifted one finger and placed it against the center of his chest, in exactly the place she had touched him months earlier. Damian looked down. His eyes returned to hers. Still terrifying. Maya said, And yet you keep touching me. Maybe I'm checking whether you learned anything. Have I? She pretended to consider. Mixed results. His hand remained at his side. Maya could feel the restraint in that choice. It no longer looked like distance. It looked like respect. Maya. Yes, Damian's voice lowered. May I kiss you? She'd pictured the question so many times that the real thing surprised her with its plainness. No dramatic claim. No hand at her waist before she answered. No assumption that months of dinners and almost kisses had already decided the outcome. Maya left her finger where it was and stepped closer. Yes. Damian touched her only then. One hand settling lightly at her waist, while the other came to the side of her face. The kiss was controlled for approximately 1 second. Maya smiled against his mouth when that control thinned, then caught the lapel of his jacket and kissed him back on purpose. Damian responded without pulling her closer than she chose to come. When they separated, his forehead rested briefly against hers. Maya's rideshare rolled to the curb behind him. Terrible timing. She whispered, Cancel it. She leaned back enough to look at him. Damian's expression changed. That was a joke. You're learning. Painfully. Maya did not cancel the car. Damian did not ask her to. He opened the rear door only after she nodded toward it. And Maya paused before getting inside. Dinner Friday. she asked. Yes, my choice. Obviously. That sounded sarcastic. It was. Maya smiled. 7:30. I'll text you the place. Damian nodded and stepped away from the door. No instruction to message when she got home. No Vescari car pulling out behind her. Maya closed the door and watched him through the window as the rideshare moved into traffic. He remained under the hotel awning, visible until the next turn took him out of sight. The first night, Damian carried Maya out of Belladonna House. Danger had left no room for a conversation. He had acted because seconds mattered. She could accept that now without pretending the decision belonged to her. The mistake came later, when he began treating every possibility as the same emergency. It had taken months for him to understand that strength was not proven by how quickly he could take control. Sometimes it was proven by refusing to take control when he easily could. Maya had never needed a man powerful enough to carry her everywhere. She needed someone with enough power to know when to put her down. When she chose to walk beside him, Damian finally had enough sense to ask,